Welcome back, everyone, to the FloTrack podcast, and happy Wednesday. I'm Kevin Sully, joined by Gordon Mack. Gordon, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Doing all right. Uh, what was so I was gonna say? Start the podcast with something. Oh my goodness, there's something on my mind. Literally 5 minutes ago, and
hmm
I've completely forgotten what it is. It's okay. We'll just do a podcast anyway. We'll just do a podcast anyway, and we'll get ready to go. So I'm excited.
And this podcast is brought to you by Hoka, Gordon. Hoka's just
That's
introduced
what
the
I was
most
thinking.
advanced
That's what I was
spike shoe
thinking.
yet. There you go. I jogged your memory. The Cielo X. They're powered by the propulsion of carbon. Two varieties: the Cielo MD for mid distance and Cielo LD for long distance. Remember, you can go to hoka.com today. Hoka Faster Forward. These orange ones that I'm holding up here, these are the LDs. Gordon is showing off the MDs.
Not to be confused with a doctor. These aren't doctor shoes. They're not
No,
medical doctors. They're just mid-distance shoes and long-distance shoes
you might
with
get your
carbon
doctor
fiber.
in. You might be a doctor in racing fast with these
Yeah,
shoes. There could be that.
I like.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the look. I like the color. I know color isn't what makes you fast, right? It's not like you wear orange and white shoes and all of a sudden you're breaking 4 minutes in a mile. But if it means anything, I mean, it gives you good vibes. But yeah,
hmm
ultimately, it's all about this thing right here. This plate, carbon fiber plate, is what
hmm
everyone's doing now. And clearly it's working because if everyone else is doing it, you got to be doing it. And that's what Hoka's doing. So good shoes. Excited for them to come out.
So again, hoka.com, where you can get the Cielo MD, Cielo LD for all the distance runners out there and mid-distance runners as well too. We have a lot of World Indoor Tour events coming up, Gordon. We got Ostrava, we have Berlin, and then of course over the weekend we got the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix, which is available in select countries. But the one in Ostrava is coming up on Thursday, so I wanted to mention a few names and a few participants in that meet right now. So you have Angela Del Pont in the 60, who is one of the best 60-meter runners in the world. She's in the top 10 in the most recent iteration of the FloTrack rankings. Look out for her. You have Eli Hall on the start list as well. You have Elliot Giles in the 1500, and you have Tentaglue. I just saw they did a pre-meet press conference. Tentaglue is out there, Olympic champion in the long jump. So some big names competing in this meet in the Czech Republic. It's the Czech Indoor Gala, but we're calling it the Ostrava World Indoor Tour. That takes place on Thursday. We're getting to this time, Gordon. We got like multiple big meets every week.
Yeah. And Ilan, if you can show the calendar on the screen, we have so many World Athletics indoor tours. Like if we scroll through this, Travis, we have obviously Ostrava, Berlin, and the New Balance Grand Prix this weekend. But then the
hmm
following weekend, we have in Metz,
hmm
Levine, Birmingham, Dusseldorf, Turin, Madrid,
hmm
Paris. List goes on and on. All your best World Athletics indoor tours live on FloTrack. They're all live in the US, Canada, and Australia, except for that New Balance Indoor Grand Prix that will be in Australia and Canada only. But, we're going to see some world record attempts in some of these meets. Like Birmingham's
Yeah.
going to be good. Levine's going to be good. Torrance going to be good. Grant Holloway's
hmm
going to be there. Jakob Ingebrigtsen, Elaine Thompson-Herah. It's going to be all the best of the best at the World Athletics Indoor Tour.
The Birmingham one I have my eye on because that's Thompson Hurrah. That's also Muir in the 1K. But yeah, check it out on Thursday. We'll recap it on Friday's pod. Going back a little bit here, there was some college news that we wanted to touch on. So we're going to do some college stuff. Then we'll talk about the Salazar news as well. And then we'll end with more college stuff. This is going to be pretty college heavy. But hey, college athletes are going to turn into pro athletes one day. And college athletes are going to make teams. So if you're a fan of fast running and good marks, this will be a good show for you. But Gordon, tell me about some of these highlights on the collegiate side of things over the weekend.
Well, start off with a fun one. The DMR collegiate record was broken. Now,
Mhm.
we're not talking Division One collegiate record. We're talking about the D2 collegiate record by American International College. See a big kick here at the end. Lon will put this up on the screen so you guys can see the clip. But yeah, 9:36 breaking the record for D2, and this wasn't
Mhm.
the only record that went down on the non-Division One scale. We had the second fastest D2 mile ever run in at BU, and also the Division 3 record in the mile broken at BU. So D2 DMR, number 2 all-time D2 mile, number 1 all-time D3 mile. It's been a good day for mid-distance D2 D3 action. You saw the top two there, Simon Fraser and American International, both
Yeah.
breaking the old record of 940.
The old record held by Western Oregon with Ribich on the anchor. So we know how good David Ribich is. So congrats to them. We actually got an email from Caleb over at American International College. Said big fan of the pod. Just wanted to shed light on the D2 DMR record. These are my teammates. So this is the first time I think someone's broken a collegiate record and their teammate has emailed in about it. So that's a first too. So congrats to Caleb's teammates,
I like
and
how you
thanks for listening to
take
the
their
pod.
record. I like how you take their record and be like, how is it about us?
Yeah,
How is what their accomplishments do with the two of us talking to each other on a screen?
that's what podcasting is all about, Gordon. Taking something and spinning it about you. No, this was an exciting race. I mean, it was a great kick. That finishing kick was really cool. He's looking around there and then sprinting through the line, high five with the coach. You see how pumped his that quartet is. So yeah, congrats to them. Real exciting times. All this stuff taking place at BU makes me think this BU track is just as fast as ever, Gordon.
Yeah, and we saw again. She showed this clip of the highlight of this mile. It was won by Vincent Chietti of Oregon Track Club, but he led the charge of a bunch of people breaking four. So you see these people finishing, the two pros up front, but that slew of athletes finishing third, fourth, fifth, etc. Those weren't just D1 athletes; those were D3, D2 athletes making some big records. I always like it when a D3 or D2 athlete does well. I ran D3, so I have a little bit of a love for the D3 community, and it's always cool to see them do something special. And Aiden Ryan of Williams, 3:56:88. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I guess when I started at Flow, the record
Yeah.
was 4 flat 96 by a Haverford guy,
Mhm.
1997. I remember this. I ran in the conference that Haverford ran in, and
Ooh.
Carl Pirano was considered like the GOAT of Division 3 running. He ran
Yeah.
4 flat in 1997. No one's ever going to do that. And now in 14, we obviously had Kobe Horowitz go 4 flat, then Jeremy Hernandez run 3:59, and now Aiden Ryan just smashed a 3:56. I know in D1 there's people running 3:52s, 3:53s, but for
Yeah.
Division 3, man, where track and field is not the number one priority a lot of times, we're doing
Mhm.
schoolwork and scholarships aren't that lucrative. There's no NIL deals going down in D3 much. It's pretty cool to see a D3 athlete mix it up with the top boys in the D1. And hey, maybe Aiden Ryan's going to be the next Simmons, right?
Mhm.
Nick Simmons went from D3 to becoming an all-time great. Drew Windle
Yeah.
went from D2 to competing well at the US level, international level. Maybe Aiden Ryan is the next guy to come out of the ranks to mix it up with the big boys later on in his career.
You said you remembered the Carl Piranha mark. I remember Simmons. I was at some of those meets watching him, and he was just blowing away all these fields and beating Division 1 talent. And on several occasions, they were running. It was outdoors. So they were running 1500s, but he'd go through with a pacer through one lap in 60, and then in 2 minutes, and we're oh my gosh, is he gonna run like a 4 flat equivalent out here? It was really exciting, and then you just see how much things have changed just in that time to where someone's going 356 indoors, and I think this is just the tip of the iceberg for these athletes. I think we're gonna see more and more sub fours on the D2, D3 side, and also the DMRs are gonna get quicker and quicker. Seems like everybody's taking advantage of obviously greater opportunities to race one another coming out of the pandemic. Obviously, The shoes are providing a little bit of a boost as well too, and just that cumulative effect. You see a teammate or someone in your conference run faster, you pick up your pace.
Staying on the conversation of the mile, I was doing a little
Yeah.
bit of statistical research the other day,
S
and
type.
obviously we always talk about like the sub 4 mile doesn't mean much as it did years ago. We see high school kids now doing it. It seems more
Mhm.
normal.
Yeah.
But we did break a new record for sub 4 over this past weekend. And that
Yeah.
record is most ever Division 1 athletes to break 4 in a season. The record was actually broken last year in 2021 with 38 athletes ran sub 4 or the equivalent of sub 4 when you take in altitude conversions. Division 1 only.
Yeah.
38. Already now, with all of February and half of March to go,
Mhm.
41 athletes have already broken 4. So we're probably going to get into the 50 range of sub 4 athletes. I mean, if you were to go in a time machine 12 years back, just 12, not
Yeah.
that much of it's kind of a lame time machine if you're going only 12 years, but let's say they invent a time machine that only can go 12 years.
Yeah, it's got
And you
limitations.
told them, oh, yeah, 359, that's going to be like 50th best in the country.
Yeah.
People will be like, wait, what? That doesn't make any sense. 359, that's like, you know, that's that's like a legit like top 8 mark or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
no, top 50. And I think it's kind of crazy that now 359 is going to be top 50. That's wild.
You said you're including altitude conversions.
Yes.
Okay, so not that many people really haven't broken 4 yet. Alright. Get back to me when that
Yeah,
many people
but
actually
like
have run
I
3 something,
didn't
Gordon.
want to
Sorry.
do
Sorry.
the calculation of it's
Yeah,
easier to
do the
just look at
calculations.
Tfers past 10 years. And
Your
okay, but
statistical
it's still
analysis leaves a little bit to be desired, Gordon. Come on.
yeah, well, Nico Young broke 4 on altitude and then all of a sudden ran 356 on
Yeah.
Washington. So a lot of these
Yeah.
altitude converters go on to run sub 4 anyway. So I still
Yeah,
think
no, and I'm all about that. I just need to see the 3 by their name without the
okay.
altitude conversion. That's all I need to say. Let's just update this segment in a couple. I think they're gonna break the record. It's February 2nd, and they've already gone over it. I think they're gonna smash the record in a
Yeah,
couple weeks.
you want to know how many people did it without conversions so far?
Yes.
This is going
Yes,
to
that's
include D2 and D3 athletes.
sure.
Including D2 and D3 athletes, we're at 40.
Mhm.
40 people have a
Okay,
3
so that's
colon 5
huge.
next to their name.
Yeah.
It's still
That's a
huge.
still
Yeah.
still a massive number. I saw the amount of men breaking 8 in the 3K is really high too this year. All right, let's get into the college stuff some more here. Matthew Bowling had himself a weekend at the Razorback Invite, 20.27 in the 200, 805 in the long jump, so off of what he jumped at Clemson, but still a good jump, and then also ran in that 4x4. Now, I bring this up in part because of it's another strong weekend for bowling, um, but also maybe we talk about this later on, but just the team race right now seems incredibly tight, and I wanna know who has an ace up their sleeve and what they can pull off to try to get that extra point or 2, and might we see, like, a quadruple attempt from bowling to just try to get an extra point? But we can talk about that later. What did you think of bowling's performance?
Yeah, it seems he's finally coming into what we wanted from him coming out of high school, right? His out of high school, the sub 10, his 4x4 split. His freshman year obviously got derailed a bit with the COVID. And then the next year was a little bit, he wasn't as dominant as we thought he could have been. But now he's becoming the guy we thought he would be out of high school. And he's dominating the field. I don't think he's going to get beat. There is someone named Joseph Fambula out there who probably
Mhm,
could beat him, but he hasn't run yet for Florida. So right now, this is Bowling's race to lose, this 200, and he's run incredibly well. We had someone
mhm,
on out there in Fayetteville watching this race in person. Our colleague Ryan Fenton, he was sending us some
mhm,
text messages that he was there to watch Bowling run his 200 and his long jump.
mhm.
But I think his long jump now being consistently over 8 meters, I think is
Yeah,
a really good indicator of where he is now as an athlete. That he is now just like in one of his peak forms where he doesn't need to have a race of his life to get to
right.
where he is. Like his his new floor has been raised. He still has a ceiling that he can hit, but his new floor is like, hey, my floor is like third. Now my ceiling could be closing next to a national record or something like that.
Mhm. I think when we think of 200-meter times, we always think of 19 as the threshold, but it's important for people to remember just how much different indoors is and how much slower it is. Um, Bowling's 20.19 from Fayetteville last year, from indoor champs last year, was tied for the sixth best in history.
Yeah.
So it basically what I'm saying is if you get into the 20.1s, you're an elite company. Christian Coleman ran 20.11, Spearman ran 20.10, Odaduru 20.08, Elijah Hall 20.02, and then the world record is 1992 by Frankie Fredericks. So, I think the fact that he's running 20.2 now indicates that by the time championships come along, he can beat that 20.19, and then you're putting yourself right in that top 5. Maybe he's able
Yeah.
to squeak in there in that group that includes Wallace Spearman and Christian Coleman, which is just obviously great company. Could he get to the 2002 collegiate record? It's a bit of a bigger ask based on where he is right now. But again, look at how many names are on this list that are ahead of him. It's not a big list
Yeah. I think 20 is not out of the question for sure.
this year.
I think the big yeah, I think so. Yeah, why not? You
Okay.
run 2027 in January, still got a whole another 5 weeks of training. I think you can do it. I think the big question I want to know is if you're Matthew Bowling, obviously you're focused on representing Georgia, trying to score points in the long, beat 4x4 to do 200, maybe even the 60. What is Matthew Bowling going to be doing in Eugene in June at USA's?
I think it'll be the 2 in the long jump.
Two in a long jump. So he'll scratch the 100, don't go close to the 400.
I'd have to look at the schedule to see if there's any sort of disadvantage to being in the 2 in the long jump, but I would think those would be his preferred events. I want to see more 400s though, as I said before. I want to see him run more quarters, but maybe we're going to wait another year for that. He did run that 4x4, but we went and looked last time when we talked about him about how few quarters he actually ran last year when you think about it. But when you're good at multiple things, you're going to have to make some tough decisions. Um, so this is a good sign. So you think he can break the collegiate record this year?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Wow. Okay. Stay tuned on
I
that one.
do.
Stay tuned on that one. All right, we'll take a break from the collegiate talk. We'll get back to it in a second. Want to discuss the Alberto Salazar story. The New York Times reported that the reason for his safe sport ban, remember we found out in summer of 2021 that he had been banned for life by Safe Sport, which governs his ability to coach U.S. athletes, was for sexual assault, Gordon. Previously, we had no indication about that Safe Sport process, what specifically led to the lifetime ban. But it says that after he appealed, an arbitrator found that he had more likely than not, which is the threshold in these cases. It's not a criminal court, so it's not beyond a reasonable doubt, but more likely than not, um, had sexually assaulted an athlete on 2 different occasions. So Salazar responded in his statement, denied the allegations, um, but and actually, the arbitration was ruled against him, obviously. But we have this situation here where we started with Salazar with rumors about doping violations. Then a doping case gets brought in 2019 against him. He's banned for 4 years. We also have the allegations coming out about emotional abuse, right? The long stories. that were told by Mary Kane and then corroborated by other athletes that had to do with body shaming. And then we get this ban, but we didn't really know what it was about. And now we're into the area where we're discussing um, sexual assault. So I don't think it's hard for me to see a path where he's coaching again. You know, obviously, this ban just governs U.S. athletes, but do you see a way where he's going to be able to coach again?
I don't think so. I think it's just been a long 6 years of constantly being under the scrutiny of the track community. Um, the whole gray area stuff, then,
Hmm.
everyone getting involved, getting the 4-year
Yeah,
ban. But then this stuff, this like is like
this is different.
separate from any of that stuff. There's no like debating like the ethicalness of it. Like there's a lot of people who are like, dude, Salazar's innocent, man. You're trying to, it's a witch hunt. This whole gray area stuff. You guys are just jealous that he's a good coach and can successfully coach great athletes. But this
You're
is
talking
like
about with the
separate
doping
from the,
allegations.
yeah, the doping stuff and gray area and
Yeah,
experimenting on his kid and like all that
right.
stuff. You could see there was a side that was pro Salazar in that situation. It
Hmm.
may have been like 80-20, but there's still, it
Hmm.
wasn't 100-0. But when you
Yeah.
get to this stuff, this is separate from track. This is very 100-0, maybe 99-1 type of reaction to this. And I think what would be best for the sport, best for him even, is just, hey man, step away. It's over. It's done. You're 63. Just
Hmm.
you did bad things, and it's time to not try to just steamroll over it. You gotta just accept it, and we need the
Hmm.
sport to move on. That's what we need.
Hmm.
We need the sport to move on. We need the athletes who are coached by him, who are dealing with this stuff, whether it was the emotional abuse or the sexual abuse that now has been alleged and corroborated by other um,
Yeah.
witnesses or whoever went to safe sport with the allegation. It's just it's I'm done. I'm just done with it. Like it's time.
Yeah.
The Salazar era is over. No more. Like
Yeah.
there's a
I
lot of other
agree with
great
you.
coaches out there in this world. There's great athletes. It's time to focus on them.
Yeah. I agree with you. This is just completely separate from that. It's just interesting to see how it morphed. And I wonder in the world where we didn't have the anti-doping ban and we didn't have the allegations of emotional abuse, if he was still coaching and this came out, like what would the response be? You know, in a way, he's already not coaching. So it's seen in a completely different light and it's just one more thing. But yeah, when you're talking about stuff like assault, it goes outside the bounds of what we've talked about before. Because when you mention about people taking his side in terms of the gray area stuff, there's people within the sport who were taking his side on that, but there are also a huge constituency of people outside, like non-track fans who just read headlines, who turn the other way to doping or don't really, it doesn't bother them because the other sports that they cheer for have that past or have that present, and it does not detract from their ability to enjoy the sport. But this is totally different, totally different. And again, you're not going to get anybody defending this. So yeah,
When
I'm
I
with you. I don't know what else we're going to learn though, because there's a lot of anonymity with this process.
Yeah, when I read the story, I don't even want to say it on the air of the what the sexual assault entailed, but it kind of gave me like a sick reminder of the whole uh gymnastics case with
Hmm.
the trainer.
Hmm.
I forget. I don't even know the guy's name. Doesn't matter. I shouldn't remember his name. Who cares? But obviously that was crazy because it was hundreds of girls who were abused by this trainer, and then he goes on to get criminally, you know, investigated and found guilty, and then he goes on and kills himself. But uh, My question is like, is this something Salazar is going to have to face in a criminal situation, or is it
Mhm.
like done here? Like
Well, he
because
hasn't been criminally charged, and I think that would depend on the specifics of the case. Does the person wanna bring criminal charges? When different states have different laws about this, so it would depend. I mean, the threshold for guilt in this case is different than in a criminal case as well too, as we mentioned. Just more likely than not, it has to have taken place as opposed to beyond a reasonable doubt. So I have no idea. We're just now finding out about this. I mean, if it wasn't for the New York Times reporting this out, we wouldn't know. And I think a lot of people would have said, hey, he's being banned for all the stuff that's come out, which that stuff is body shaming mostly. Right. So this just takes it in a completely different direction. This totally um, supports the idea of a lifetime ban because you should ban someone for life. Like the whole function of safe sport is for cases like this. Um, anyway, let's move on to another topic because I want to have time to get through the rest of these collegiate highlights. Do you want to talk about individual stuff or team stuff? Because I have individual questions for you and team questions for you.
you go you choose the path. I'm going to go on this little adventure with you. You just take me
Okay,
down the road that you want me to go
just
down.
Travis, if are you still here? If you're still here, Travis, pull up the team rankings for the men because these are incredibly close on the men's side. Women's side, we'll talk about them in a second. Florida's blowing everybody out, and I want to talk about Grace Stark in a second. But look at these men's rankings: Texas 34, Georgia 33, Florida State 30. Keep scrolling. A&T 29, Alabama 28, Florida 28, LSU 27, Oregon 26, Notre Dame 24, NAU 23, USC 23. So you have 11 teams within 11 points of each other. So obviously it's very close. A&T was the big mover up from 13 to 4. Everybody else stayed about around the same. NAU dropped back, but we could see a scenario where they win a bunch of distance races and they're fine. But what I want to know, going back to the bowling question here, if it's this close, who has an ace up their sleeve? Who has a break glass in case of an emergency move here where they can maybe put somebody in a different event, double, triple, and squeak out an extra point here and there? Who's got the ability to push themselves, get to the high 30s or low 40s?
Well, the thing about these rankings, I try to uh calculate for the aces that these teams have
Right,
because
but what are you
right
not
now,
seeing,
right now
basically?
I'm calculating Joseph Fambula, who hasn't raced yet, to help Florida, which helps them get to 28 points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess an ace would be for Florida would be Fambula also being great in the 60 and then all of a
Okay.
sudden scoring there, and that moves them up. Um,
Mhm.
I think Florida does have a bunch of people who are like 12 to 15th, which is
Okay.
great. You know, you can make a national meet when you're 12th to 15th, but you're not scoring. But that's how you win. That's how these teams are going to win. Is these teams that do have athletes who I have ranked in the 9 to 16 range, who then
Yeah.
find a way to finish 7th. And those 2 points, when it's this close, is a game changer. I think um, I think Texas is Micaiah Harris. If he can get it together, and Jonathan Jones, I think Texas has a little bit of more power that they can
Okay.
throw at this situation. Um, Florida State, their ace, in my opinion, will be Adrian Wildershut. Because right
Mhm.
now, Adrian Wildshut, I don't, Adrian, I don't have him scoring many points. So if he finds a way, if Florida State's distance guy comes in and's like, I'm not finishing 7th, I'm finishing 3rd, that would
Yeah.
be the big ace for Florida State.
Oregon, Michael Williams has looked real good. Where else are they getting points?
They have a good heptathlete. Oregon, they have a good triple jumper, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, Matt
Um,
J. That's right. Yep.
though not many other places, right? They're milers and they're 3K. I mean, they do have 3K with Aaron Benfeld. He's still
Mhm.
kind of relevant, but I don't really have him scoring too much. I don't know. Things are going to start coming together in 2 weeks from now when we have even more results
Mhm.
from the big mid February weekend. And
Yeah.
then the rankings also are going to start evolving because, again, I'm still assuming that some of these big guns are going to show up, right? And
Yeah.
because you don't know why someone hasn't raced, right? But there's
Mhm.
going to be a point when you have to realize, oh, you don't have that card that I thought you had. And so then it will move around again.
Well, I wonder, is NAU tapped out at that mid-20 mark?
Yeah, so NAU dropped because I took George Kusha out of the mile. He ran like a 4:08 mile at
Yeah.
Millrose. I had him finishing like top 5 in the mile based on his past pedigree. But if George Kusha comes out and runs a 3:57 in a week or two, then Northern Arizona will go back in the mix. But right now, they
'Cause
just have 3 good guys, and that's not enough to podium.
yeah, Nico, Nur, and Bosley.
Yeah,
That's it. It Yeah, but you could see a scenario where they worked their way back into it and could get to 34. I mean, you'd
yeah,
need a bunch of other things to go right too. Have you ever seen a year when it's this tight, even though it's still early? I feel like we don't have it this tight, this far down.
yeah. Normally, it is tight a lot of times between second and like eighth for a long time, and there's always like that
Yeah.
clear front runner. But the fact that there isn't a one that has pulled away, I think, is a sign. Um, Yeah, no, I mean it's fun when it's tight. What's interesting is like the difference between like someone be like, oh wow, you thought we would get eighth and we got third, and it's like, yo, well,
Yeah.
you just got one more point than I thought you would
Yeah.
get, right? Like, or the
Yeah.
team ahead of you got one less point because you know there's such a big drop. There's it's the difference between fourth place and 10th place could just be
Yeah.
your triple jumper getting fifth instead of eighth. Like, and that could have
Mhm.
been a difference of like 4 centimeters. Like it's
Yeah.
so negligible, crazy.
Uh,
Anyway,
Let's look at the women's side of things. You have Florida women just running away with this thing with a huge, huge margin. You have them scoring in the 90s. And part of that, I think, is Grace Stark being a threat now in the 60 after what she ran over the weekend. Do you think with Stark, do you think she could pull off the Holloway double, the hurdle flat
yeah.
60 double like he did in 2019?
So the episode 4 of the NCAA track and field show, which is now up on our website, will be up on YouTube later today. I I basically go deep dive into the Florida women and explain why they're at the 96-point threshold. And I do compare Grace
Mhm.
Stark to Grant Holloway. I don't know if she can pull it off, but she's definitely going to score a shit ton of points in those two events. Like I think her floor is third in both, right? So 6 and
Mhm.
6 is 12 points. I think she could get a second and a first,
Yeah.
a third and a first. So they got a lot of points. I looked it up. The record for most points in an NCAA indoor meet is held by the Arkansas men, who scored 94 points. That's the record. The
Oh,
women's record is 84 by Oregon women in 2017, I believe. So they have a chance to be an all-time team and
yeah.
potentially even get 100
96.
points, which would be nuts.
96 is a ton of points. I think, yeah, she's gonna have her hands full. Like you got Nelson, the reigning champion from Oregon. You got Julian Alfred, who's run really well, and then the 60-meter hurdles has gotten off to a very quick start too, because you have Aaliyah Armstrong of LSU running really well, Salmon of North Carolina A&T, Brissett, Akira Nugent, like a lot of experience in that high hurdles race as well too. But yeah, you go Command F on your rankings and you search for Florida, or you do that on the descending order lists. If you just sort it by top 20, top 50, and you look for Florida, it's just they're all over the place on the women's side. It's remarkable.
Yeah. There's been I think I want to highlight a couple like distance results from some of the college kids that kind of got overlooked because the things that were going on at Millrose. It was all about on Athletics Club and Oliver
Hmm.
Hoare
Hmm.
and Alicia Monson. But I think we should kind of point out, one, Courtney Wayman ran 850. She's
Hmm.
the favorite in the 3K, I think, coming off of her great run at indoors last year. Her rest of her sidekicks, like Whitney Orton, Anna Camp, they're all gone pro. So she's kind of the last one standing to potentially
Yeah.
win another title. But she runs 850, which is respectable. And then Morgan Beadlescombe, man. Morgan freaking
Your guy.
Beadlescombe.
Say it
Michigan
again.
State,
Say it again. Say his name.
Morgan Beadlescombe. Beadlescombe? Did I
No.
say it right?
Yeah, no, but put freaking in the middle of it. I like that better.
Morgan freaking Beadlescombe. M freaking B. Michigan State. I think he's a 5th or 6th year senior. He ran 743. 743.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, that's quick. And like
Guys,
no one.
guys,
Here's the thing.
fellas.
He ran 743, and no one outside of Lansing is going to predict him to win the NCAA title. No one outside of
Not
Lansing.
even you.
Just him, his teammates, and his coach, and his mom. His friend's not even going to pick him. His friend's going to be like, yo, guys, Nico Young's pretty good. Or Wesley Kiptu, man. Watch out for Athanas Kyoko. No one is picking him to win. But he goes out there. He runs 743 at Millrose.
Mhm.
You don't notice it because he's, there was guys winning it in
Mm-hmm.
739. But then he's Mr. Consistent. He's giving me some Robert Brandt vibes of like always in it, but never winning it. But maybe he can break the Robert Brandt curse and find a way to win it. I don't know, man. I think I kind of want him to win. I want him to win. I think it'll be cool. But
Yeah.
I don't think he will, but I want him to win. I'm not picking him to win, but I want him to win. There's a
I'm
lot
gonna
of
pick
things
him.
going on, but
I'm picking him now.
743,
I'm not even gonna
pretty
wait.
cool.
I'm picking him now. 6th all time.
Yeah.
Here's who's ahead of him. Larry Lang, Morgan McDonald, Grant Fisher, Edward Cheserek, Alistair Craig.
Who's he ahead of? Who's 7 now?
Grijalva, Beamish, Rupp, Kemboy, Nick Willis, Eric Jenkins, Alistair Craig again, Tyler Day, Will Gohegan, Olin Hacker, Cam Levins, Justin Knight, Larry Lang again, Adam Goucher,
Okay,
Cooper Tier,
you can
Cole
stop.
Hawker.
Okay, you can
No,
stop,
hold
you can
on.
stop.
No, I'm
Yeah.
going to keep going. Joe Falcon, Bernard Legatt, and
Okay,
then Alex Mayer. There's some names on there. There's
a
some
lot
names.
of names.
Tier, Hawker, Legatt, Goucher, Justin Knight, Cam Levins, Jenkins,
Yeah, there's a lot of names.
Nick Willis. He's ahead of a guy who ran sub 4 20 years in a row, Gordon. Morgan Beadlescombe. My pick for the NCAA
Here's the thing
title.
about that. This is my take when it comes to statistics. So obviously, NBA fan here. I'm on my Joel Embiid is the MVP campaign on the internet. I'm doing my tweets and my Reddit posts to say that Embiid's better than Nikola Jokic. But for those who don't know, it's basically going to be between Jokic, Denver center versus Joel Embiid, Sixer center. And people have been praising Jokic based on these statistics, right? They're saying he's the greatest blah, blah, blah statistic ever. And the one statistic they always cite is his on-off numbers. And his on what that means for those who don't know, follow basketball, they see like how many points is the team scoring and giving up when the player's on the court versus off the court, and what's the difference. So basically you could see like when he's on, they're plus 16. When he's off, they're minus 10, whatever. And he has the best on-off in the NBA. But here's the thing. They're saying like, oh, greatest on-off. But then they bring up who's number 2 on that list. And the second best on-off player is a guy named George Hill, who's just like a role player. And then what makes you think is
former Sperm
and former Sixer. And what makes you think is like a statistic really should only mean something if the other people who are at the top tier of that statistic are like eye test good. Like if the number 2 person is a role player, then you leading that statistic doesn't really mean much. That makes sense, right?
Okay. Yeah. So do you want me to list these names again? Who he's ahead of? Let me list the names again.
Yeah.
One more time.
What I'm saying is, yeah, exactly. The people who are around him, Morgan Beadlescombe with the 743, those are all names. Like you could argue 95% of those are legit dudes. So
listen, I bought the stock. You don't need to convince me. You're not picking him. I am. Now, after I bought him, I did some research though, while you were talking about Embiid, because I blacked out like I normally do when you talk about the Sixers. His last 2 laps, he goes 29-0 and then 28-4. So I guess I'm a little worried about closing speed, but everybody's going to look slow compared to Beamish, Hawker, and Tier. And the 29 and the 28 were preceded by really fast laps. It's not as if the race was dawdling. But I'm like, who's the best kicker right now? Let me look at your 3K rankings. Here are your 3K rankings, Gordon. Tell me who the best kicker is. Well, never mind. It's Nagoose. He's number one. Sorry, that was a dumb question. I didn't look at the rankings before I said that. Nagoose, Kyoko, Garcia Romo, Kiptu, Young, Nur. Yo, Beatles come seventh. That's ridiculous. That is an absolute disgrace and an insult to the guy who's going to win this thing. Nagoose is going to be a problem, though. Garcia Romo would be a problem, too. I think he needs them not to run. What are the chances they don't
Yeah,
run that race?
not good. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's gonna be you're gonna want to see an NAU guy or two up in the top 5. Obviously, in the
I'm,
Goose,
I'm still
Garcia
picking him. I'm
Romo,
doubling down.
Kyoko did well at cross, so Kiptu's there. That's why it's hard
Yeah,
to
I'm still picking.
pick. Yeah,
I think he can beat Nico. I think he can beat Nur and Kiptu and those guys. But the milers is who I'm worried about. I mean, Kyoko's going to make it fast though. So that's what you got to hope.
yeah.
The fellow Beatles scum fans and I are hoping Kyoko makes it fast. Maybe one of those other guys doesn't run, or they're tired after the DMR. What about his? Is he running the? You have him in the 5 at 6th place. Okay, the 5 is where his
Yeah,
chances are. I'm
I'm
changing
giving
my
him the
pick.
Robert Brandt treatment. That's what I'm doing. I'm
I'm
giving him
giving
the
no.
Robert
I'm
Brandt
changing my.
treatment.
I'm changing my pick. He's winning the 5K. Take my 3K pick away. He's winning the 5K.
He's not going to win
So
he's not going to win the 5K.
who's he going to lose to? He just
Nico
destroyed
Young,
Kiptu.
Kip
Ah,
to.
he can kick.
Well, Kip
He
to.
can kick with Nico. He can kick with. There's a difference between a Nico kick and a Yared kick. I think Morgan can hang with the Nico kick. I'm going all in. Morgan beats
Okay,
him.
we'll find out.
Now
We'll
you've
find out.
gone a total 180 on Nico. By the way, I just want you to notice that you were not picking him for anything before, and now you're picking him to be NCAA champion.
I know. I don't know. I don't
Where's
know what I want
where's
or
what
what
are
I
his
think.
on-off numbers? What else do you have in here?
Let's.
Wayman 850. You talked about it. Oh, Trey Cunningham 746. He's the world leader right now. I have him. I'm recording my ranking show after this one, Gordon. I got Trey Cunningham way up there, and he's running that indoor Grand Prix meet this weekend, I believe. So you're gonna
It'll be interesting.
have that's the best. We'll talk about it later, aka Friday. That's the best race of the meet. The men's 60-meter hurdles as of right now, unless something changes, because you have Grant Holloway opening up. You have Trey Cunningham, who leads the nation. And then you have Daniel Robertson, Devin Allen, who had a really tight race in Millrose. So I'm very excited to see that one.
We also had a collegiate record by Jasmine Moore in the triple jump. This time it counted,
Yeah.
unlike
Yep. Yep.
the
Yep.
other one out at Texas Tech. She jumped 14.55 meters. Again, this is why Florida is going to be so dominant. They got Jasmine Moore, who was at Georgia last year, now at Florida, scoring a shit ton of points. And then also Shay Taywow, weight
Mm-hmm.
thrower, throws over 25 meters. I talked about her as like a low key. I gave her like an award on my track and field show, but over 25 meters for a woman in the weight throw is very impressive. I know some people might not know that barrier that well, but it is a hard barrier to get to. So yeah, very impressive for her. And then the last thing I wanted to say was we started to get some DMR results. Oklahoma State ran 928 on the men's
Mm-hmm.
side. Arkansas ran 1051. We still Here's the question. Oklahoma State
Yeah.
Arkansas's 1051 is going to stand. Like that is going to be fast enough to make it top 12. But Oklahoma State's 928. Every year the DMR just gets faster and faster on the men's side and it gets more and more ridiculous. If you're Oklahoma State and you ran 928, are you done? Do you feel like you need a run in 3 weeks and try again or do you feel like you're fine?
I feel like you're fine. You keep an eye on
Are
what other
you?
people are doing. I
Okay,
mean,
let's
let me look at the list here. Let's see. Men's DMR 928. 12th is 945.
Well, you can't look at
What?
what 12. They all do it on the same weekend, which is in 2 weeks from now. So I'm going to show you what 20. So 2021,
I mean, I
obviously
think
not everyone did a DMR. So the last time we had a DMR 932 was 12th, but
okay.
928
Then
was
no.
5th.
Yeah, I would run again then. I would run again.
You run again?
Play a little bit of defense out there. I'd run again. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Only
So
four.
in 2019, the last team in was Stanford with a 929. That was in 2019. 929 was the last team in.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Then I was wrong before. Let me correct the record. I know Dave Smith's probably using me to plan out his season. Run again. Run again. I was wrong.
isn't that crazy
I
though? 928, and you're like, that's not good enough. You got to run again.
Well, you just said 929 was the last time in 2 years ago or 2019, so it's
Yeah.
not that crazy. It's not that big of a change. A second faster. So yeah, you gotta run again, and I'm sure they'll be fine. Where are the big DMR meets in 2 weeks?
Well, there'll be one at the JDL, and there'll be one at Notre Dame. Right, those are
Hmm.
typically the two places you'll go. And then I do know that Pac-12 is hosting like an invitational.
Hmm.
They use the week that they used to have MPSF, and so I'm
Yeah,
sure like the Pac-12 teams will kind of collude to rabbit themselves to try to break into the top 12 as well.
collude to rabbit themselves into the top 12. You're Mr. Extend the cross country season. Would you want to extend the indoor track? Like, should we just start doing the playoffs right now for the DMR? If they're traveling all around the country anyway, let's get all these top teams in one spot. They advance out of the first round. You got to run one in January, one in February, and one in March.
Ooh, that would be fun. Like a little mini tournament within the
Yeah.
tournament. I would like that. So we just have like the DMR day once a month.
Yeah.
And it starts at like 30, then it gets down to 15, and then you have your
Hmm.
final 8
The
at
gate. Yeah.
nationals.
Yeah.
I like
Exactly.
that.
And the top
Look at
seed.
you coming with
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
ideas.
Yeah. No, I just taken off of your endless cross country season idea of, all right, first practice September 1st, first qualifier September 3rd, and then we narrow it down from there. Really start chipping away at this. Okay, what else do we have on this list here? You talked about Shea Taiwo, talked about Jasmine Moore. I think we did it all. Let me hold on. I haven't even checked on the chat here. Is the chat even going? Let me see. See if people got questions or comments. There we go. Do. Did we shout out Aiden Ryan's 356 D3 national record? Yeah, that was literally the top of the show. We talked
Top
about
show.
that. Yeah. Let's see. We're
One
talking
thing I
about.
think is kind of cool. Oh,
Hmm.
sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
My Ole Miss is on the verge of like having like 12 people break 4. They're now at 4 people have broken 4. So they just need 8 more people to do it. They're running at Penn Relays, so it's gonna be fun seeing them run the 4x mile.
Yeah. Do we have any? I mean, okay. Yeah. 12 is the number that they can get.
I mean, 12 would be crazy if 12 people on the same freaking team run so 4. I think they're probably going to be more around like 7, maybe 8. But I put out a tweet that maybe it's 12 to be fun. So
Okay. Someone mentioned no mention of Stephen Gardner's 31:56 indoor 300-meter world record, world best, 0.31 quicker than Lyle's. Yes, I did see this. We should have mentioned that. My
where did
apologies. I
this
did not put
happen?
that. It happened so it said in Colombia, and I was like, oh, he went to South America to run this, and then it's like Columbia, South Carolina. So if you look
And how
at,
fast did he run?
let me pull up the. Sorry, he
I'm finding
smashed
the
it.
results
It's
here.
just it's not it's a world best thing, so it doesn't get as much. Uh,
Okay,
it doesn't get
31:56. Nathan Allen was second, 32:54.
Yeah,
Wow, 31:56.
Yeah, it's a big time mark. We're not gonna talk about the 300 that much, but he is just he goes about his business. That was his second 300. He did 32:06 at the Crossplex and then 31:56. So I mean, he's the number one ranked 400-meter runner in the world. I don't know if he's going to run World Indoors or what his plans are, but you look at Stephen Gardner the last couple of years, it's incredible. Um, Someone says talk about Trey Cunningham. Yeah, we did that. It'd be hilarious. Trey gets a win over Grant, but it's when Grant's a pro and Trey's still in college. That'd be a cool turn of events. But no,
Does it count?
men's 60-meter hurdles is the race of the meet at that New Balance Indoor Grand Prix. You have
I was thinking,
arguably four of the top like 6 or 7 guys in the world right now. It might even be 4 of the top 5 based on how well Trey Cunningham's running right now. And I think, Gordon, this is the best chance. If someone wants to beat Grant Holloway and make my bold prediction of him going undefeated indoor and out and break the world record twice outdoors nullified, this is the best chance. So I'm a little nervous, basically, is what I'm saying for this first one. After this one, smooth sailing.
I just got an idea for World Outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the crossover event. All right. What you do is, and I want to let me know which event you would most want to watch. You take the
Mm-hmm.
top 4 finishers from every event at Worlds. Okay. So top 400-meter, top 4 200, top 4 400, 800, etc. And
Yeah.
then those top 4 from the 100 race the top 4 from the 200 in a 150. The top 4 from the 200 race the top 4 from the 400 in a 300. The top 4 400 and the top 4 800 run a 600 against each other, and so
Mm-hmm.
on. Which event would you most want to watch?
So the 4 and the 8 meet in the 6,
Yeah,
and the 4 and the 2 meet in the 3.
yeah.
I think I'd want to watch the 7.5K where the 10 and the 5 meet. Because no, I probably 600.
The 600. Seeing the
Well,
800
I
people
think.
race the 400.
I mean, it wouldn't be fair because the thing Mo that's her event would just crush
Yeah,
everybody on the women's side. But it'd be
I
fun to
think I
see
would
how
like
good
the.
she is in that.
I think I would want the 300. I think that would be the coolest. That's what made me think of this because okay, let's look at what's the Olympics? What was the results of the Olympics?
Well, DeGrasse won,
Olympic. It'll
and
be
then it was
DeGrasse.
Bednarik, Lyles, Knighton was that top 4. And then in the
Okay,
quarter you had
versus
Gardner.
Gardner. I can't.
Man,
I'm trying to bring up the
I'm
result.
yeah. I mean, Cherry was full. Wait, yeah, Cherry was 4, right? And Norman was 5. Am I remembering that
Well,
correctly?
regardless, who would you want? Well, I mean, that would be kind of cool, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I would. I'd still take 600. I'm surprised you wouldn't take 600.
What about between the 8 and the 15? That might be kind of fun. Or the 800 people would just die. They won't be able to handle like
I mean,
the
it was 1,000 or
1200.
like a 1,200. Yeah, I'm just not
1200,
getting into
yeah.
that distance. I'm just not that into it.
Yeah, yeah.
I gotta say. Zambrano was silver. Karani was bronze. I just think right now with the names involved, I think I would rather go 6. But that's mostly a women's side of things.
Maybe the
The
150
men,
for men.
yeah, I think the men, the shorter the
I think,
better.
yeah, I think the men
Well,
in the
could anybody
150 would
be
be
in it?
fun.
Could like Warholm be in the 600 just for fun, and like Rye Benjamin, or would they
Sure.
run the 300?
Well,
I
no,
guess
no. I mean, then
Benjamin in the 300
yeah,
would be good.
yeah.
That would be fun. Benjamin in the 300. So maybe I am back in on this 300. By the way, did you see the Rye Benjamin hype video?
I did not. I saw people tweeting about it though.
Yeah.
Was it good?
Yeah, it's just, a hype up video. But it made me think, you know how when you watch a sports movie, they always distill it, even if it's based on a true story, they always distill it down to this person versus this person or this team versus this team, even though there's like multiple different competitors that they'll face it's like they're all fixated on this one athlete all season. With the exception of boxing, that's not the case. Like you're going to go against multiple people. But
Yeah,
in track right now, if you look at say the 100, right? There's like multiple people who could win the men's 100. So if you're in the men's 100 right now, you're not training specifically thinking about one person. 1500,
correct.
maybe Jakob is thinking about Chariot, maybe Chariot's thinking about Jakob, but I'm not sure. Maybe in the women's 4-meter hurdles, it's like that. But it's definitely like that in the men's 4-meter hurdles, right? For Rye.
Yeah,
Like he's definitely like when he's working out, it's like thinking about what am I doing to beat Warholm. Now, Dos Santos ran out of his mind and is number 3 now all time, so not to discount him, but just the history over the past couple years and the fact that he hasn't been able to get gold. On the women's side of things, they've both gotten gold, so it's a little bit different. For Benjamin, it's like there's this guy in my way. There's one guy in my way, and he's the fastest in history, and he happens to be competing at the same time as me, and I have to beat him. That's what I thought of when I saw that video of just the unique situation that he's in, where he's like clearly number 2. No one's gonna argue he's number 3. No one's gonna argue he's number 1. Like everybody, if you pay attention to track and field, everybody has him at unanimous 2. There's no other event that I could think of where a 2 is that clear cut.
thinking. Yeah, you're right. Because Delila, she's number 2 now, but you could argue, well, she could get her this time, right? Because she's beaten her before. You think about Jakob as number 2 or
Mhm.
Chariot, they're like you could argue that's back and forth. Yeah, everyone else has like a I mean, even Joe Kovacs, even though Krauser's
Yeah.
clearly the favorite, Kovacs has beaten Krauser before. So,
Well, and
yeah,
there's a chance the
he's the
3rd guy
most
could beat him,
yeah, true.
right? Like
He's
there's
not
a
finishing yeah.
no one's gonna
True.
argue like Chariot, like Kerr and Hoare should be ranked ahead of Chariot right now, but you could see a world where they get beaten, or you could you put him up
Yeah.
at number 1. It's just like he's clearly number 2, and it was in a very cinematic sense. I think his story is really interesting because of that. It's like this guy, when we talk about his career in 10, 20 years, I think we're going to talk about his races with Warholm. And if he eventually does get over the top and beat him, it's going to be an incredible story because that's just like there's a singular focus right now of beating him. I think that's interesting.
Well, we hit the
That's
hour
all.
mark.
That was it.
Got another
I
pod
just
Friday.
go watch the hype video is what I'm saying.
Go watch the hype video.
Yeah,
Watch the
yeah, thanks.
NCAA track and field show on YouTube. Watch Kevin's ranking show. Watch Kevin's This Week in Track. Watch podcast. Watch it all. Like and
Yeah.
subscribe.
Yeah,
We're doing
and
it,
go to
man.
Hoka.com. Hoka.com, the Cielo MD, the Cielo LD. Thanks to them for sponsoring Hoka Faster Forward. As Gordon mentioned, we'll be back on Friday. We'll see you guys then.